Welcome to the Transform Sales Podcast, where forward-thinking business leaders come to share their experiences and ideas, learn from each other, and amplify their results together.
All right, JC, how you doing today? We are going live now.
Hey, Eddie. Yeah, good. What about you?
Doing good, my friend. I wanted to talk to you because I noticed that you have some interesting service for companies in Europe that want to grow in different regions like LATAM and the US. But before we go into that, how about you tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and how you grew into the sales outsourcing industry?
Yeah, definitely, Eddie. Thanks for having me here. So, yeah, before we take a deeper dive into what we do, more than happy to tell you, in a nutshell how it all started. We're actually are as many companies a child of the pandemic. So we started around 2020 actually. A co-founder named Philip and myself, we started with the idea of setting up Move to help early stage startups figure out sales, specifically outbound sales. Philip is Polish, I'm Mexican, and we saw firsthand how startups from our regions struggled always to go and to sell into the US. So we decided to fill that gap, let the founders do their thing, whether it's fundraising or focusing on product, the MVP, or hiring, whatever they need to do. They can sort of very peacefully go at it while we take the load of finding new customers for them. So that's how it all started. Now almost 4 years in the making. We've worked with over 40 startups from countries like Poland, Israel, Australia, Canada, Estonia, Sweden. So it's been an amazing experience to continue to be in this world. And yeah, through you guys, we continue to help more startups achieve their sales goals. So yeah.
Awesome, JC. So first of all, congratulations. 4 years, 40 customers. That's a pretty interesting achievement. And you did mention multiple regions, multiple countries, but also startups. You want to help startups. So maybe how about you tell me a little bit about who are the best fit customers today for Move Partner?
So I would say the best fit customer for our services are startups who are in the early stage. So in terms of funding, they're like pre-Series A. So we actually work with startups that have just gotten their product, their MVP, ready to go out and find the product market fit, and that's kind of the earliest that we've done. But for the most part, these are companies whose product is already getting some traction, perhaps back home, and they are definitely getting some sales there, and they're ready to go and explore a new market in the Americas, whether that's in LATAM or US and Canada. So they would love to do it, but they don't have the bandwidth. Maybe the time zone doesn't benefit them, and most importantly, they have no idea how to do it. Right? They might know their home market very well, or even sort of extended. Talking about, let's say, a Polish company, extended the European Union, they can hold their own. But in the US, they have no idea how to pitch, how to find leads, how to how present the product or their services in the best way possible. So that's where we come in. So that's kind of the types of companies that we normally get involved with. So early stage, ready to sell, already have some traction, but not so much in another market, specifically in the US.
Okay, wonderful. You mentioned they need to have some sales engine going, maybe working at home, but if they're expanding into other regions, maybe they don't have the local feel, the understanding of the market, the audience, and that's when you can come in and help. Perfect. Pre-Series A and maybe seeking product market fit. Now,
yeah, exactly.
Let's go ahead and talk about one of the service offers that you can provide to these companies in this range, and some success story details if you can share along with that. What would be that service?
Let me think. I mean, there was one company I can remember. This is a company in the health and wellness space, very popular these days. They basically, they're an app that tackles mental care and well-being. They provide sort of on-demand therapists and psychologists for mainly kind of for the startups of the world. So their objective was to expand their Eastern European company. They expanded into Western Europe, having Spain as their base, and then from there they hired us to take a stab at the Latin market with the hopes of eventually going up north in the US and then being a contender for the rest of the apps who are in that very saturated market. So before hiring Move, they really had no let's say sustainable way of having conversations in this region. So like Mexico to the south, they maybe had 3 to 5 inbound leads coming their way. Again, they were not doing anything in respects to marketing, and then we had an onboarding of about 10 days, which is typically the time that we spend onboarding a new client. And then the first month we were able to achieve 8 meetings, if I'm not mistaken. And then the next month it was 15, and the month afterwards is 18. With them, and again, everything we do is outbound, just to make myself very clear. So we did 3 channels, so LinkedIn, email, and phone calls. Everything was completely cold. Our best channel for this company was LinkedIn. It seemed to be sort of the best channel to start conversations. Although people tend to get too excited in LinkedIn and then just forget about the conversation. So cold calling was more like a warm calling effort, was the best way to again remind them of the meeting. So yeah, I mean, we used a multi-touch, multi-channel sequence, usually ranging between 7 to 10 touch points. I mean, combining the 3 channels. But yeah, LinkedIn seemed to be the way to do it. So yeah, I mean, it was a great experience. And yeah, it was fun working with them, considering that it was a very, very hot market in general, like going into sort of well-being and mental health space. So
wonderful. So a few details that I want to go through before we recap. You mentioned, so it's a software for well-being from Europe that wanted to grow into Latam and eventually in the US. Was this software sold B2C or B2B to clinics, doctors? Help me understand the target audience.
No, that's a great question. No, this was B2B. So we were going after companies that at least had 50 employees, like on the low end, but up to 500, 1,000. So the business model, obviously, that they had took into consideration the number of users. So the more number of users, the better, bigger contracts. So yeah, we were going after other, let's say, mid-market to enterprise type companies.
Okay. Any industry in particular?
I mean, they had some success in Europe, and that's what we were trying to replicate in the tech sector, obviously, because I think that industry is well known to provide very, very great benefits to their employees. So that was our, say, main industry, like our go-to industry. But we also branched out to some other industries. We did some experiments in the financial sector as well, because they tend to have like a good benefits package, and we were going after consumer packaged goods industry as well. So those 3 were the main ones that we reached out to.
Okay, wonderful. So now to recap a little bit, this was a prospecting service, right? So you were setting appointments. Now, within this appointment setting service, you were working with a software company that has a software for well-being for other companies to promote well-being within their employees. European company went to grow in Latam and the US, B2B company, and they were targeting tech and financial sector, CPG as well, 50 plus employees. And before you were working with them, they were getting between 3 to 5 inbound leads, not really any marketing or outbound efforts. That was a little bit stale. You came in short onboarding, just 10 days, right? And after that, you started working with them. 1 month, you got 8 meetings. 2 months, you got 15 meetings. Month 3, 18 meetings.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. That's a great ramp up time. What was the average deal value for those transactions? Do you know the?
I mean, the it was around 15 to 20K usually, the ACB, because we were, guess in the beginning we were going after companies that were in the range between 50 to 150 employees.
Mhm.
So that was kind of the ACB. Towards month 3, we started to sort of increase that number, going after bigger companies. Thus, the ACB was going to be a bit higher. So yeah, that was kind of the number.
Wonderful. So those are not small deals for that time frame. It's a short period of time to be ramping up that quickly. Annual contract value around the $20,000. Omni-channel,
Mhm.
and you mentioned LinkedIn was the best performing channel for that specific campaign. Does that mean that LinkedIn is your strongest suit as an agency, or that you can work all 3 channels, LinkedIn, email, and phone, but for that campaign, you identified LinkedIn was the better performing and you increased the activity there?
That's correct. Yeah, I mean we're pretty knowledgeable with all 3 channels. In this specific engagement, LinkedIn seemed to be the best channel to kickstart conversations, and then we worked with sort of a follow-up cadence in through the phone, just to make sure that we didn't lose kind of that sort of initial interest. Email was kind of a hit and miss. But yeah, that was just in this particular case, as depending on the industry and even the region, X channel is going to be better than Y channel. But it's not until you start to execute that you realize which one's going to have the better conversion.
Wonderful. So that's part of the analysis that you guys include. And because of the regions, well, I can see that you handle English as well as Spanish. How did you build the lead list for that campaign? Because those were some good conversion numbers,
Mm.
right? 3 months, 18 qualified appointments. How do you build the lead list? What sources do you use? How do you clean it?
Yeah, so we've been working with Apollo for almost a year. And Apollo has got a pretty solid database now, and always, they continue to improve their data quality. But um, being a country again in LATAM and Mexico in specific, that perhaps the data was not as, let's say, predominant. So compared to other regions like the US, we went for SalesNav first. So we would build our initial lists in SalesNav, and then with the plugin that Apollo has with LinkedIn or SalesNav, we would push those leads over to Apollo, and then enrich the ones that we could find data on. The ones that we had some data points missing, we would manually go and do a bit of research on their websites, just to make sure we had the right point of contact there to reach out to. So it was a mix of SalesNav plus Apollo, and in some cases, very few, we would manually make sure that we had the data. So,
Manual checking of the data and data
yeah,
quality. Perfect. Now, on the sequence, you did mention previously it was around 10 touches.
yeah, it
Seven,
was.
7 to 10 touch points that a lead can receive, right?
Yeah, exactly. 7 to 10. So in that, let's say, initial sequence, we were using 3 channels initially to test out and see which one would have the better conversion.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, after it was, yeah, before that first month, we realized that LinkedIn was going to be the best channel for us. So we quickly doubled down on that channel as kind of the conversation starter, and then again increasing the touch points that came from LinkedIn and reduce the ones that came from email. And again, I guess, yeah, phone calling remain always a good tool to continue to engage with the contacts that initially showed some interest.
Okay, wonderful. Now, one more detail that I saw in my notes here is that you work around 1,000 leads per month. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
that is correct. Yeah, and every month we add the again 1,000 net new contacts to the outreach. So it's always trying to get fresh leads into the sequences.
The sequence. Okay, perfect. And the price range for a service like this is $2,000 to $5,000. It's within that price range. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends on the, let's say, the complexity of the project, but I would park the quantity at around 3,500. That's really, where I see most deals starting from, especially the ones that include kind of the three channels. For less than 3,500, we normally work one or two channels. So yeah, that's kind of the pricing for us. It also includes a component of like a success fee component. But yeah, the retainer is 3,500.
That success fee, you mean a commission on meetings booked or deals, meetings that you book that turn into a deal, I would guess.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Meetings that we book that turn into, let's say, an opportunity or a deal.
Okay, perfect. So there's a base of around for omni-channel $3,500 a month, and a commission structure or incentive that you negotiate depending on the product or the service that you're closing, or
Exactly.
booking meetings for, in that case, and that your prospects or your buyers can close. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Those are some
That's
great
correct.
details.
Mm.
In the success story that you shared, for when the your buyer was getting 3 to 5 inbound leads per month, and you activate the outbound engine and get 18 meetings on month 3, that's almost a 4x increase in the number of
Mhm.
meetings for a 20,000 average contract value opportunity. Great. So before we part ways, JC, why don't you give
Mhm.
me an idea of some tips, some advice you can recommend to buyers, users of the marketplace listening right now to this content and considering, hey, I want to work with Move Partners. What can they do to achieve the results they want faster with you?
Well, one of them, and I think it's probably the most important in the stage that of the startups that we normally work with, is that they work, and we can work in this together, in defining like the right ICP, because again, things get lost in translation sometimes when going from one market to the other. So I
Mhm.
would say, number one, make sure that you know exactly who you want to go after, and you are very thorough in defining, what does that person look like? What are their job titles, their job function, what are their pains, what are they looking for, etc. I mean, there's a number of things that you can consider, but that would be my number one.
Mhm.
My number two would probably, don't be too eager, right? Kind of like, I love basketball, and there's a quote, and I'm sure it came from elsewhere, but Joel Embiid, big center, he's always saying trust the process, right? So I would, tell to them, be patient. I know that you want to put your product out there and sell, but just make sure that be patient, because there are a lot of let's say, hidden gems in the journey that would allow you to just come out better, right, on the other side. So number one, again, better ICP ideation. Number two, trust the process. And then number three, iteration. Yeah, just make sure that you're learning from what you're doing. You've got some clear goals, and if you're not achieving them, then it's okay to try to go back to a drawing board and iterate. So again, number one, better ICP. Number
Mhm.
two, trust the process. And number three, iterate, iterate, iterate.
Awesome. And I can see how the three are connected in your business
Mhm.
operation, because you first identify the right target, you execute the campaign, right? You do need the trust of your buyers
Yeah.
to have the best communication track, the time to test, I would imagine split test the
Yeah.
different messaging that you create. And depending on what's working and what's not, you showed us how you started with one channel, maybe increase activity on a different channel that's working, like in the case of LinkedIn, and you were able to get consistently better results throughout the first 3 months of that engagement. So I can see how the iteration also comes into play. JC, thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience?
Not that much. I mean, that we're always open for a chat. We'd love to share some of our learnings, so you don't have to go through that. So our door will always be open for a quick chat, and then yeah, hopefully we can work together. But again, thank you so much, Eddie.
Awesome. If you're a startup owner, a sales leader at a startup, and you are considering to work with Move Partners, you can find them in the CloudTask Marketplace. JC, it's been a pleasure. See you on the next one.
See you, Eddie. Bye-bye.